Uh, Hello. Uh, yeah. So it started. Hooray. Okay. So, yeah, man, today is a day. I'll tell you that. Um, yeah, I am not well rested. Let me put it that way. Oh, man. I basically went to sleep at like 4:45 and woke up at around 9. So, and it was not sleeping the whole way through. My dog was like jumping on my face because he had to go outside. So he was like jumping on my face for part of that. So I'm like going on like 3 hours of sleep, if that. Yikes. Man, today was not good, was it? It wasn't good today. There were shaheads to begin with, and then things that I thought were shaheads but turned out not to be. Turned out to be missiles, apparently. And then there were missiles, and then there were more missiles, and then there are different types of missiles, and even more and more missiles. Ballistic missiles, cruise missiles, anti-aircraft ballistic missiles, TV guided missiles. Every missile. They fired all of the missiles. And it appears that the targets were likely two different sorts of target that I can tell. The first type of target were warehouses. Warehouses of what? I don't know. The second type of target were factories. Those were the two main types of targets, and then I think there were other things hit too, occasionally. Like, uh, like I think there were some military bases hit. There were some hospitals hit, schools, apartment buildings, train stations, missile shelters were hit by missiles. So, yeah, yeah, buildings hit by shaheads. Yep, what a day. Going through the police reports today wasn't fun, to be honest. To be honest, I never have fun going through the police reports. I'll tell you, like the police, they don't post good news. Okay, they post like almost exclusively bad news. Like the best news they have is like we graduated more cadets as like a good news day, and I don't care. They're just like whatever. They also post like drug bus as good news. I guess I'm supposed to feel good about that. It's like we busted this 68-year-old guy with 5 grams of cannabis. And I guess that's good news. I don't know, man. It just seems depressing to me. But yeah, and then the other type of good news is we rescued a child from being shot at by missiles, which is like good, I guess, but it's depressing that you have to do that. So the police, it's never good news. And then there's all the normal police stuff that you see in every country. There are like all the crimes. Like there's every type of crime. So you could just imagine that. There's all that. And then you just kind of like scroll through it and say, whatever, there's crime. It happens everywhere. All the crime. You can use your imagination. And then there's the war stuff, which is never good. Today, there was a report, I think it was from Berislav or whatever, I don't know, I don't even remember anymore, but as they were chasing an old man around, and he was on like a scooter, like a mobility scooter, and they're chasing him around with a drone, dropping grenades on him. Okay, like that's the sort of news you get. It's not good. Today was one of the most police reports I've ever seen in this war. Obviously, you can guess what they're mostly about. Mostly about missile strikes. It's not just police reports. There's also the emergency services who do the firefighters, etc. They had a lot too. Often they don't post much. Like there are some days when the firefighters they'll just say it's gonna be cold tonight. Uh, watch out for icy roads, and that'll be like all they say in a day. That like they'll just put up like one post. But today, nah, hundreds, literally hundreds. Really depressing. So these sorts of attacks take a long time to plan. Russia does not have a very good system for programming their missiles. The United States is much better, much more advanced. The Russians kind of do it the old school way. I think, from what I understand, in order to program a Russian missile, you have to go to the missile and plug in like a USB thing. Like I don't think it's literally USB, but I just think of it as like a USB thumb drive. You have to like plug it into the missile. And in order obviously for that to work, you have to program the drive. So there's all the different sorts of guidance that you have to program. I believe they have like terrain mapping. They have like all the different sorts of guidance, and you have to. I believe you run through the guidance backwards. Like you start at the target and then work backwards to the launch site and build guidance that way. I think that's how it works. And then once you finish doing that, which I imagine takes it takes time, like at least 30 minutes to an hour. Once you do that, you like program the drive, and then you have to go to the missile and put the drive in the missile, and you have to do that for every single missile. Keep like just imagine that if they fired like 150 missiles, which is what I've heard. That's a lot of programming thumb drives and a lot of installing thumb drives. It's a time consuming process. Like just the physical labor of doing the attack is time consuming. And there's bottlenecks, like I don't know how many computers they have to program the missiles. Or I'm sure it's probably on the computer that's the problem. It's probably the experts who know how to use the software. It's like there's bottlenecks. I don't like really know the details. I don't know if anybody knows the exact details, to be honest, but it is a time consuming process. They can't just launch missiles. They don't just click a button and the missile flies off. It doesn't work like that. There's a lot of stuff that goes into it. Uh, yeah. But yeah, I've heard that they've. I don't know what the actual number of missiles were, but I've heard it was over 150. And to keep in mind, these weren't all cruise missiles. Like there were S-300, there were X-32s, there were X-59s, there were X-101s. Um, I don't know if they're counting the helicopter launched missiles, but there were helicopter launched missiles as well. I don't know how those are counted, to be honest. But they fired those too, and they fired a lot of missiles and to a lot of targets. Just so many. So kind of I tried tracking some of the stuff during the night. It's really hard to track, to be honest. It's very confusing. You kind of need like a big whiteboard. All I had was like a piece of poster paper, and I was trying to track it on paper. And after about like 3 hours, I kind of like ran out of space to write on the paper, and I got confused and gave up. But I tracked like the first like 3 hours, and that's pretty much what this is. And it just got confusing after that. There was some weird stuff going on where they like they had missiles that came from like Kursk. They like flew across Sumy and Chernihiv, and then they like flew across Kyiv towards Zhytomyr. Then they flew like all the way out to like Rivne, and then out to like Lviv. And then they like turned back around and they like flew back to Rivne, and then turned south and attacked this airfield. So that was like one group of missiles that I thought they were Shaheds at the time, but it turned out they were missiles. And they had some missiles hit Lviv. Apparently, the missiles apparently hit this area of Lviv, and I think the target. I can't remember what the target was. I think this was the target. I can't remember exactly, to be honest, but I could probably find it. If, give me a second. I wrote it down. It's just I can't remember off the top of my head. Uh, maybe I didn't write it down. Anyways, I didn't write it down. Whatever. This is like when you're running on 3 hours of sleep. This is what happens. But anyways, they were attacking apparently the a tank manufacturing plant, I believe. And I think it's this. So like the missiles like crashed like right before they got to it, or maybe it's like this. Maybe it's this. I don't know. It's like one of these. Or whatever. Like, I have the coordinates somewhere. I just can't remember them. But that was one. Hi, John.
Hello, Andrew.
Hi. So, um, what do you think the targets were? That's what I'm talking about. The targets. This,
I have no idea, to be honest. Kind of at a loss for this one.
yeah. So
It kind of seemed to be all over the place.
in Lviv, there's apparently a factory that makes parts for tanks.
Yeah, so I saw a thing. It was saying that the Lviv tank plant had been hit by 6 missiles, but the account that posted it and was making this geolocation had a Russian flag in their bio.
Ah, yeah, yeah, yeah. I know who it is.
Yeah, so
But
I'm a little bit skeptical to take that just at face value.
yeah, I am not gonna say whether the facility was hit by a missile or not, but I am almost certain two missiles landed short of it that were traveling in a trajectory towards it. So, uh,
I guess.
it just seems like that would be a logical target, unless they were literally just shooting in apartment buildings that were right next to this factory.
I mean, it would be nice to know what missiles were used because, I mean, if it was a Kinjal, it would be perfectly plausible for them to fire multiple and then, and have them just impact 200 meters away. I mean, that's pretty par for the course with Kinjal. At least my understanding is that it's not the most precise missile in the world.
Yeah. So, so that's Lviv. I've also heard that there were strikes in I can't remember what this place is called, whatever that place is. It's like a training a training facility for like infantry, I think. Anyway, so and then there's the Starkon area that was hit. It was weirdly attacked from the northwest, which is not typically the angle that it gets attacked from. But this time it was, and it was attacked from the south too. They attacked near Ternopil. They attacked all these places. Kharkiv. I have no clue what they hit in Kharkiv, honestly.
They seem to have struck some electrical facilities because I believe the governor or the mayor was reporting grid issues.
Yeah. Well, I mean, to be fair, like half of the city is an electrical grid, so you could just do that by accident. It has like what like the largest power plant in the country,
Yeah,
and
I think
then
I thought
there's
that
like
was
three more power plants in addition to that.
I thought the largest was Zaporizhia. The nuclear
Well,
NRR.
okay, maybe it's the largest non-nuclear. It's a
Okay.
gigantic power plant. It's right here. This one. This is a huge power plant. And it's not the only power plant in Kharkiv. I just kind of drew these dots randomly because I didn't know what they were actually hit. So yeah, I just don't know what else to say. I've also heard that they hit the airfield near Mirhorod, but I don't know if that's true. But there were warnings of I think they're X-32s going there.
Yeah. I think that was the first thing. After the initial Shaheeds kind of meandered around, it was the KH-22s, 32s. Do we ever get specific clarification? I know you were saying last night before I went to sleep that it was 32s, but all the stuff I saw was, not specific because I mean they're almost identical except for range and payload.
Well, one of the air defense accounts that I follow stated he said they were 22s, and then like 30 minutes later he said I'm corrected, they're 32s.
Interesting.
um,
Well, whatever it was, they probably, I mean, with the 22s and the 32s, I mean, they aren't going to hit whatever they're aiming at in general. So, not, sucks for civilians living there, obviously, but, the CEP on those things is enormous.
and they hit Konotop. I have no clue what is even here. They said they hit like a gas station or something. Like I didn't know how to interpret it, so I just kind of like drew like a random missile. There's a big old crater though. Um, but yeah, that's in Sumi. I think that was another X-32. I think. Yeah, and then obviously they hit Kyiv in a whole bunch of different places.
Do you know if any of the ballistics were launched towards Kyiv? Because none of the ballistics got intercepted, which is interesting if some were launched towards Kyiv because they should be under the they should be under the envelope of that probably one, if not two Patriot batteries.
I don't know. I don't know what hit Kyiv. The only thing that I can say hit Kyiv was that cruise missile. But other than that, I have no clue what they were.
Well, it
I
wasn't. Are you talking about the burning one?
the one that hit the house, like the big old building.
Oh yeah, well that was intercepted. That was the burning airframe.
I do know cruise missile, not cruise, ballistic missiles hit Zaporizhia, right here in this intersection here. Oops, the image didn't load, but it hit. There was a ballistic missiles hitting this area of Zaporizhia. There were ballistic missiles in Kharkiv. Um, yeah, and then there was also ballistic missiles in one of these towns for some reason. I don't even know why, but they fired. They said they fired 9 ballistic missiles at this little tiny town. Uh, I can't remember what town it was. It's
Yeah,
one of
probably
these.
probably more. It's more S-300.
Oh, it's this one. It's this one. It's I think it's Lika Alexandriivka. I think it's this one. They said they fired, I think, four. Well, they said it was four S-400. I don't know. Anyway, it was four. They said four S-400 and 5 Smerch.
Interesting.
So, so yeah, that's kind of it. And then there's the stuff in Odessa. There's a whole bunches of strikes in Odessa that I've heard nothing about. I've not heard anything about the Shaheeds and missiles that flew up the Danube. I haven't heard anything about that. Um, there's obviously the strikes in Odessa itself that we've seen a lot of pictures of Shahed crashing into a building, another building exploding. I don't know what exploded that one. Uh, anyways, the whole strike is pretty depressing.
Yeah, I mean it's the I'm not sure if I sent you the my updated charts, but it's the largest one on record that we have specific numbers for. I think there were some larger ones in early 2022. I think still the largest one was the one on the opening night of the invasion, but since the Ukrainian Air Force began publishing specific breakdowns in October of 2022, this has been the largest. Do you want me to go ahead and send you those graphs?
Sure.
I'm gonna go ahead and post
Michael wants to know if we could have Ukraine build their own tomahawks.
and launch them with what exactly?
I don't know, whatever they're using to build them with.
I mean, so here's the whole thing is so with TLAM is that we have like two batteries of launchers and that's it. The Army just took delivery of the first Typhon battery, MRC mid-range capability as it used to be called, I believe. And then the Navy has their own battery that they're currently just strapped to the back of a LCS and are just bopping around whatever test firing stuff from it. Um, so we have two batteries, and yeah, we have nothing else to ground launch TLAM with. So even if they could manufacture them, we don't really have a way to launch them unless we part with one of our like well, sorry, I should say three because the Marine Corps also straps some tubes onto JLTVs and they can fire Tomahawk now. Remote controlled JLTVs, I might add. So we have three capable systems and that's it. So good luck getting either any of the three services to part with them. As nice as it would be. And as funny as it would be.
Well, I mean, like, if Ukraine is building their own missiles, like, I don't know, can't they, like, make their own launcher?
I mean, yeah, that's what they were trying to do with SAPs, and I mean, obviously they've done that with Neptune. They need to come up with a new platform for a cruise missile with the needed range. They'd need a new platform just because it's going to be probably like 7-9 meters long. For say 1,000, 1,500 kilometer range cruise missile, which is what they ideally need. But yeah, I mean, they're making Bodanas, so they can obviously produce chassis. Um, but yeah, they could maybe cook something up, but it'd be a very slow going process.
Pew pew. Hi, Constantine. Cool. Anyways, so here's your charts. Um, that this bar is bigger than the other ones by a lot.
Yeah. Um, I don't know if things are gonna get better or worse from here, man. So they didn't expend any cruise missiles in October or November. That's like a 200 to 300 cruise missiles stockpiled. They're producing 100, 120, somewhere in that range per month. So just with the stockpiled missiles alone, they can do probably two more strikes like this. And then, then they're producing 100 a month. So we might see another one like this maybe next month and then they can kind of sustain one large strike like this per month indefinitely.
Yeah. Yeah. Whether that's a good idea or not, it doesn't really fit their MO to do anything indefinitely. They seem to be more like do a few big strikes and then a few medium strikes and then a few small strikes and then nothing for like 2 months.
I mean, I'm not really sure what their rationale or strategy is for these strikes. To be honest, it eludes me. I part of me thinks there may not actually be a coherent targeting process at the high level in terms of having specific objectives in an end state that they want to create with these standoff capabilities. It was pretty clear they had one last winter during the infrastructure campaign, but after that ended, I mean, it's kind of been just schizophrenic, a dozen or so, one or two dozen Shaheeds per day for the past 6 months, and it's I'm not really sure what they're aiming for. If the Shaheeds are just supposed to be this constant drumbeat to deplete magazine depth and overall interceptor inventory, and then that's supposed to be complemented by large raids of cruise missiles to exploit that. I'm kind of grasping at straws here, to be honest.
Well, one thing that was interesting to me is that the cruise missiles appeared to follow trajectories that were very similar to Shaheed's. So it kind of seemed like maybe they were using the Shaheeds to find where to attack, and then they sent a bunch of cruise missiles there.
How long was the gap between the initial Shahed wave and then the cruise missiles?
Way
Because
too long. I don't understand why it's so long. It was hours. Like
I
the
mean, well, that's the whole thing. Is even though it's hours, I'm not sure that's fast enough for the Russians to actually do the whole mission planning cycle because it takes them like a while to implement, at
well,
least as of
well,
a while ago.
no, that's not what I mean. I don't mean that they used the Shahed attack last night to plan the missiles. I mean that they used the Shahed attacks over the course of the past like 2 weeks to plan it.
Yeah, I could buy that. Yeah.
'Cause it seemed pretty similar to their prior attacks in a lot of ways. Not exact. It was kind of it was similar up until the point where they were kind of behind like the Ukrainian air defense like line, I guess. And then once they like got to a certain point, they like went crazy, like and started doing weird stuff. But they seemed to follow the Shaheeds to get to that point.
I hope Texty will put out like a map or something with the routings. I'd be very interested to see that.
I tried so hard to follow it last night, but it was really hard. It was like one of the most difficult nights to map. Especially because like I thought I was tracking Shaheeds, but then it turns out that I was actually tracking missiles, and that was very confusing.
Yeah, I got to. I was watching you have a moment in real time there last night.
Because like they seem to be going like they're following the Shahed track that I've been tracking for like weeks, and everyone was calling them Shaheeds. Like literally everybody was like these are like there's like 15 Shaheeds here. There's like two Shaheeds there. Like they're following like Shahed tracks. I was like, yeah, this all makes sense. And then like all of the places that were struck, like they showed like photographs. It was like this is a cruise missile. I'm like, wait, what? Anyways, um, oh, oh boy, I've broken something. Uh, anyways, so once I figure out how to fix this thing that I broke, I'm going to talk about different news, I guess. Uh, but I think I like permanently broke it. That's unfortunate. Um, oh well, guess we'll have to do it this way. Anyways, uh, there are a few areas of the front line that have interesting things going on, and a whole bunch of areas where there's not that much interesting. So I'm just going to talk about a few places, and maybe maybe after talking about it, it might make sense. Maybe it links together of this missile strike because I kind of think it does. You can tell me what you think. So near Sinkivka, up in the north of Kupiansk, Russia has gone on their little attacky again. Okay, so they've pushed forward another column of vehicles that were all destroyed horribly. There were BMP-2s, there were tanks. Um, uh, it's always fun when a tank with a mine roller gets destroyed by a mine that it drove into directly. It's not even like reversing or turning or you just straight into it and blew up. It's always fun. So they've done another large attack on Sinkivka, made no notable progress, lost a ton of dudes, lost all the vehicles, and so that's kind of what I see going on in Sinkivka. Okay, so that's one area to keep in mind. Now over here near Ivanivka, there was a similar event where Russia assaulted with a whole bunch of vehicles that were all similarly destroyed. Um, Most of these were destroyed by FPV drones. So in Sinkivka, they were all destroyed by mines, basically. And here, they were all destroyed by FPV drones, but everything destroyed there too. So that's yeah, so there's Sinkivka and Ivanivka, both pretty much the same result of everything being destroyed. Now going on south towards Terni, Russia has been advancing pretty steadily towards the town. Ukraine um, made an interesting decision of trying to repel the attack of a bunch of fancy uh, Swedish tanks, and they lost all the tanks. Um, so that's interesting, and they lost the armored recovery vehicle along with them. So Russia is making some advances towards Terni. Nothing super interesting at the moment. So this is kind of an area that we have changes, but I don't think it's super important to the totality of everything going on at the moment. Near Sperna, there were rumors today of Russia capturing the town, which I see no evidence for, at least not as of yet. So Bodanivka, Ukraine launched a large counterattack last week where they retook a bunch of ground that they had previously lost the day before. And I'm trying to go back in time, which I did not prepare for. Uh, anyways, they did a large counterattack. They retook a whole bunch of ground and pushed Russia back pretty substantially. Um, it was the 23rd. So that was what 6 days ago that that happened. And ever since then, there have been more and more evidence that Ukraine may have actually pushed all the way up through this little. I don't even know what this is. It's like a little dacha town thing. Anyway, so they might have pushed up all the way there, which is actually a pretty significant event because this is the top of a pretty steep hill, and controlling that is quite useful, especially if they can reestablish themselves on this tree line here. So this is all um, quite interesting to look at. It's interesting because Russia had been making tons of progress very rapidly. Then not only did their progress stop, but it was reversed. So that's interesting. Okay, so now the, the Ukrainians in this area are saying that Russia isn't really attacking at the moment, that they appear to be building up forces for future attack, that they don't seem to have the infantry available to continue their assaults. So that's that area. Um, Around Klishivka, I've heard similar in that we've not seen Russia make any significant advances around Klishivka in quite a while, and they also appear to be building forces for a future assault. Now we can move on down to Avdiivka, where Russia has not made any significant advances near Stepova or towards Novobakhmutivka or towards Novokalinove. They've not made any significant advances in this kind of northern part of Avdiivka. They've kind of expanded the gray area a little bit in kind of north of, like near this like Dacha area north of Avdiivka, but not super important. To the south of Avdiivka, there's no known changes. And in this kind of Opitna Vodiana area, there might be small changes, but they're not super important. And in Pervomaisky, no significant changes. So this whole Avdiivka area has more or less stabilized, maybe give or take 100 meters here and there. And this is with Russia continuously attacking with pretty large armored columns into Stepova and losing a lot of dudes in the process. A lot of vehicles and a lot of infantry are getting killed here with no gain. Moving down to Mariinka, Russia has captured the city of Mariinka, and they've been trying to push into Avdiivka, but they've been unable to enter the town, from what I understand. They've been trying to push towards Pobieda, but they've been unable to move. They've tried taking this defensive position here, which I believe is called Menagerie, but they've been unable to do any progress. They've been trying to attack Novomikhailivka, but they've made no progress. They may have had some small progress to the east of Novomikhailivka, in that they may have entered a few houses, but it's unproven. And the people saying that tends to be doomers, like hardcore doomers. You think I'm a doomer? Usually see these guys. Anyways, so there's no progress here either. Now, near Vuhledar, there's no real action at all. Near Staromayorska, there have been small assaults, but nothing super significant. And then getting close to Verbova, Russia did advance this large advance between Novoprokopivka and Verbova, where they kind of infamously um, killed a bunch of Ukrainian POWs. But other than that, there's been no significant changes. There was a noted small, very small, and by small I mean 3 guys. But there's a small Russian, no, a small Ukrainian assault near Verbova, which was literally 3 guys, not super interesting. But other than that, the Robotina line has more or less been stable. So this change here between Robotina and Verbova is a large change. So this is kind of the biggest change. Like how you want to value this, I'm not sure. What this means for the future, I'm not really sure. But this is the biggest thing here. So, and then the changes near Kamyanska, these are map clarifications, not actual changes. So, so what I see happening right now is it appears to be that the Russian offensive took a whole bunch of ground, like in some areas, several kilometers. Like in a few areas, it's like 6 or 7 kilometers of ground that they took. But now it's completely stalled under heavy casualties. And then they launched a large bot attack, like propaganda bots, like a troll farm. They've launched a large troll farm stuff all week. It's been noted all week, especially today, especially bad today, obviously, but for the whole week they've been activated, and they launch this large missile attack. So I'm curious, do you think the missiles and the trolls could be connected to this slowdown on the front? That's my question. I don't know, but
I have doubts.
you have
Why?
doubts.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think it's much more like this is, in Russia, the New Year is really big. Also, the ship that was sunk recently, it probably took the preparation for this missile attack. Took exactly the time it passed since that ship was destroyed. I think it's my personal belief that is done out of anger before that, for losing that ship, not because of the anything else on the battlefield. So I don't think it's battlefield related personally, but of course these are only guesses.
Yeah, I don't. When I say linked to the battlefield, I don't necessarily mean that they're responding to what's going on the front line necessarily, but more so that they're trying to control the narrative. I think this controlling the narrative appears to be one of Russia's really big priorities. Is they want people to talk about certain things and they want to talk about them in certain contexts. And they're very good at manipulating people into doing it. And it just I just feel like that's what they're doing. That like that's the purpose of these missile strikes. When I look at what these troll farms are doing right now, what they're trying to do is compare Ukraine to Gaza, which is, I mean, that's one thing. So they're trying to compare it to Gaza. And what was the other thing? I mean, they're also trying to say that the war is over and it's hopeless and that Russia is just getting started. Like those are kind of the talking points that I see.
I mean, they've been
Yeah,
saying the latter thing since beginning of last year, since
Yeah.
the beginning of the invasion.
Yeah, of course, yeah. But I don't know. I just think it's all narrative driven. Because militarily, I don't really see a point in what they did.
well, we don't know. Like, they obviously they were not trying to strike, just some random targets in the cities. Probably, the target was something military, like factories. But knowing the precision and knowing the like the number of percent of failures and precision of those systems, you get what you get. So they have but we don't know. No one really posted, the results of the damage that was done to the military objects. Maybe something. Maybe they hit something. As an example, in Kiev, they struck, I think, Lubyanivka subway station, and there is a famous Artyom factory that produces like our high tech, supposed to be high tech factory that is nearby. I did not see it being struck, but maybe it was a target.
Yeah, there's this warehouse just north of there was also hit. I have no clue what this warehouse stores.
Oh, and when you strike like in deep industrial areas, for example, you don't really, there is no one to report, because you wouldn't, like, our industrial areas don't have much people in them usually during that, especially at night. So there is not many people that can report it. Also, how many missiles were taken down? So maybe one or two missiles have struck it. I heard a rumor that they managed to hit one of the facilities of our Luch, but I don't know how much that is true. It was just a rumor. So my guess is that they were trying to target our military industrial complex. But Ukraine will never say that. Okay, that,
Yeah.
like they were successful. Of course, it makes no sense to say that they were successful.
Are you referring to a recent strike against the Luch facility or the one like early last year?
No, today. I'm talking about today.
Okay.
Well, yesterday. Let's say yesterday.
And then I don't know. Seems
I mean,
today
this
is
strike
fun.
that we're discussing, it happened. For someone, it was yesterday. For someone, it was today, depending on in which time belt you are, time zone you are.
And I want to say thank you to Lena. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much. Yeah, I know of at least 3 factories that were targeted. I have no clue what the damage is to any of them, or if there is any. I assume there probably is, but yeah, there's warehouses definitely damaged. We know that. They hit a McDonald's. I mean, that's a tragedy. Um, yeah. But, there is more going on too, beyond just missiles, because they've been terrorizing the Ukrainian people beyond that. They shelled an evacuation train the other day. They've been shelling hospitals.
I mean, like terror is part of it, right? They in their eyes, they are trying to strike not only it's not only industrial complex. Maybe it's just one of the purposes. Another, of course, is just like spread the things that you like. All those things that you are saying are not cancel one another. If you like, they want to target military industrial complex, then understand that 20% of missiles, for example, are going to hit residential areas. So they're happy with that. That is going to be both terror. That is going to be then it's going to be they may hit something actually that they actually wanted. Population is terrorized, and they can spread the message, and there are enough videos showing the terror, and they can spread the message with the boats that with their bot network saying that the war lost, whatever the narrative that they want. So it just it's not just okay, this is the purpose. It works all together for them, and it's been successful, I would say, because the United States does not want to help Ukraine anymore, and it's partial. And this helps. I think for it may not have a huge effect, just
It can
exactly this
backfire.
event.
It can backfire.
I
It
don't
can make America support them more.
I don't think so. I don't see it. I see people saying that okay, Ukraine. We gave them 1% of our budget. They have not managed to defeat Russia. Let's pull the plug. I see these messages all around, and I don't agree with you. So I think it's partial. It's working, of course. Especially among Democrats, among the Republicans. Because one of their leaders, the Messiah is against it, and it helps him spread that.
The Republican Party right now, they have two political objectives. Their first political objective is to make the economy look as weak as possible. And their second political objective is to make Biden look as weak as possible. Those are the two things they're going for. They don't care what has to happen to make either of those happen. The economy doesn't have to be good or bad.
I mean, you were talking about this. They may have many targets, but the reality is that Trump is super anti-Ukrainian. It's obvious. He's afraid to come out and say it openly because he knows that a lot of population still supports Ukraine. But he's doing it slowly, and things like that. That's exactly cards in his hands. He comes out, the war is terrible. Let's strike a deal. Let's strike a deal as fast as we can. That's and stop the killings. It's a talking point that he's been using that all there. If you read I tried to cover a bit what was happening in the strikes yesterday on Twitter. And if you look at the Russian bots, that's pretty much most of the messages that they're spreading, except for standard Nazi shit, Nazi bullshit. They're also spreading the negotiate, make a peace deal. That's of course there will be no peace even if Ukraine says okay, take everything that you want. They're gonna come back asking for more, but it's the message that they want to spread, I believe, and things like this they play in pretty well. Because the West, obviously the United States is not going to help Ukraine anymore, and without the
all better.
John, what is the price of one Patriot missile right now that is Moscow pack 3 or whatever? What is it?
So there's a lot of nuance to this. I can tell you exactly how much a pack 3 MSE costs to buy for the US. I can tell you exactly how much it costs. The issue is that Ukraine is getting a variety of missiles. They're getting PAC-3, CRI, and PAC-2/GMT as well. The U.S. no longer buys either of those missiles, and moreover, they've depreciated in value because we bought them a while ago, the PAC-2s in particular. So the actual valuation that's getting used for the purposes of presidential drawdown authority, I couldn't tell you, but I can tell you how much a new PAC-3 MSE costs.
You can, but you will not, or what do you mean?
Well, this is my way of saying give me 2 minutes to actually open up the procurement
all right,
so I can get the exact number.
Yeah, I don't.
Okay. So to pull up the cost element breakdown. Yeah, so the missile itself for fiscal year 2024, each PAC-3 MSE costs $3.8 million per all up round, so per unit.
Yeah, it's super expensive.
Yeah. Now the PAC
more expensive the missile they used against us.
Well, so the thing is, we don't actually know how much a KH-101 costs, and I'm always very careful about the cost differentials there because of the fact that, yeah, obviously, the cost of goods and labor in Russia is broadly, and for Ukraine as well, is cheaper than the U.S. So their stuff is just going to come out to be just cheaper inherently. So I'm always very kind of wary of cost comparisons. The I'd say the more relevant metric is probably what's production look like. Right now, we are trying to scale to, I believe, 500 PAC-3 MSEs annually. I think by next year, we're trying to scale to 550 annually. And then by, I believe, 2026, 2027, we're looking to be at 650 units annually, which is pretty good for U.S. needs. Obviously, Russia's expending many more cruise missiles than that annually. But PAC-3 MSE is just one of many interceptors that Ukraine's going to get, AMRAAM, Sidewinder, IRST SLM, IRST SL, just IRST, sorry, and a bunch of others. So the production line's looking fairly healthy relative to the assessed threats. Obviously, the current issue right now is what is the value of these items given the limited, availability of presidential drawdown authority going forward. And if we really need to bulk stocks there, I suspect it's going to be mostly older PAC-2s because those will have depreciated the most and those would have the smallest net book value for the purposes of a PDA transfer.
Right, I think it's a useful information, so thanks.
Missiles.
Yeah, so the actual best protection against missiles is having your missiles that would strike just as hard and even harder back. That's the truth.
Yeah, I mean, sorry, go ahead.
And we don't have that, unfortunately.
Yeah, what I was going to say briefly is, and this is the reason why U.S. surface air missile production is, I don't say as low as it is, but this is the reason why we don't produce as many surface air missiles as one might initially expect, and that's for in terms of our own planning purposes, be it with regard to Iran, Russia, China, North Korea, etc. We expect to be able to offensively neutralize a lot of the launch platforms, so we aren't just having to take. And unfortunately, Ukraine is in a position where they can't do that. And it's a position that we've unfortunately put them in ourselves because we have not, politically enabled them to, or even physically with large quantities of air launch cruise missiles to be able to prosecute the launch sites in Russia, where that's possible.
Do you know what the depreciation value of the PAC-2 is?
Not a clue. I did actually try to find out. As far as I can tell, the actual depreciation calculation for a defense article basically is determined on a case-by-case basis for that specific type of defense article. So I don't think that information's public as far as I'm aware. I dug into some financial management regulations that the DoD has, and it looked like that it was, more or less that it would, PAC 2 depreciates at a certain rate, PAC 3 depreciates at a certain rate, JDAM depreciates at a certain rate, etc. There isn't like a universal metric that you easily use. At least that's how it seems at a glance.
Okay. Could we make it $1?
Not legally, no.
I tried.
Yeah, this is as an aside. I keep seeing on Twitter, and I know exactly who started this. I keep seeing people claiming on Twitter that the U.S. can just zero out the value of defense articles and transfer them to Ukraine. No, we can't. We definitely can't. That is very illegal. There is a prescribed procedure in DoD regulations for how to actually compute the net book value and the value that's used for the purposes of the presidential drawdown authority cap, and as well as computing overall value for grants under the excess defense articles program. We can't just say it's worth $1. We legally cannot do that, despite many people on Twitter claiming that we can.
Yeah, because I like the logic behind it is that the military stuff is like an asset of the country, and the asset belongs to everybody. And you can't give away other people's shit for free, can you? It's not. You're not supposed to do that. Well, like Congress could like pass laws and stuff.
I mean, well, that's the whole thing. Is there's established procedures both in terms of internal DoD guidelines and regulations, as well as the actual text of the Foreign Assistance Act and the Arms Export Control Act. Like there's legally prescribed procedures here, both in terms of statute law, which we have no flexibility with, or very little, and DoD internal, financial guidance and regulations, which we do have a little bit of flexibility with, but not that much, all things considered.
Yeah. Yeah, because and the logic behind that is that Congress could do anything it wanted, but it's delegated out to other people, and they say you're allowed to do this.
Yeah, within the constraints of federal statutes and etc.
I need to restart my router, to be honest.
Mm.
Anyway, I asked you how's your fundraising stuff going?
Oh yeah, I don't know if you heard me, but it's going all right. I started one today. This is a new one with fundraising $10,000 for. I want to buy 5 Mavic 3 drones for that and transfer them to our armed forces. It's and we got 1,000 right now. So I started it 2 hours ago, so it's all right. I'm not sure we can reach it by the new year. That's the goal, but we'll try. So it's going all right for now.
How much is left?
9,000.
Okay.
So we fundraised 10% over 2 hours.
Yeah. We got 2 days. No pressure.
Constantine, is this the thing that you posted yesterday? 'Cause I don't think. Oh, here it is. Yeah, I didn't retweet that. I meant to. Thank you.
Thank you for retweeting. I appreciate it.
I will show it. My internet is very unhappy right now.
It's pinned on my profile.
Yeah. Twitter is just unhappy with me right now because I blocked 2,000 people today, and now it's just like, are you just gonna block more people? I don't want to load anything if you're just gonna block people.
Cigarette.
There he is.
He has a small hat as well.
So I have a question. So a bunch of your drones have been damaged over the horse of the war, right? And
Well, not my drone, just just the drones.
yeah,
A
yeah,
lot of drones get damage, yeah, of
yeah.
course. Lost damage.
So there have been times where you said that they were being sent out to like be repaired or like scavenge for parts. Do you have any info on whatever happens to those drones? Did they ever
Well,
actually get repaired?
yeah, of course, it depends on the. It's like your vehicle repair shop. Of course, it gets repaired. You give it for repairs, and someone fixes them and returns to you. And or alternatively, they're being scavenged for parts. It's very common, depending on how much is damaged. Like things like camera, if it's destroyed, are harder to repair because that's the most expensive part. But still, even that being repaired quite often.
Yeah.
Mm.
So I was just curious because there have been like a few drones where like the arm like broke off and it looked fixable. Like but you never like posted like follow ups. You were just like, well, we're sending this one out to get repaired. I never heard anything.
So it takes usually time, and I honestly I don't track it because it's not something I do. It's the unit that does it. So we just transferred the drones, and they send me, sometimes pictures. Okay, that it was broken. We lost this, but managed to bring it back. We're gonna send it to repairs. So sometimes, like I know that I have one of the units in the 92nd Brigade. I sent drone to repairs. Matrix 300, and it's been there for like 9 months now. They still have not repaired it. Sometimes it happens, of course, just like with the cars, when people try to repair it, they fail, they try again, maybe it's better to salvage it for parts, but this is not somewhere I can intervene. I cannot come and say, okay, do this with it. As soon as you transfer drone, it's not yours, and I can only help, maintaining it. I cannot decide what they will do with it. But usually it's salvaged for parts and repaired. Especially Mavic ones, they are much more common and easier to repair. And I mostly switch to Mavics right now because there is no market depth, and there are more useful pilots, more experienced pilots with them than any other drones.
There was a deficit of them, wasn't there? Like last year or whatever. Like
Yeah, even like 3 months ago. So there was a period where DJI said, okay, we're not going to produce Mavic 3 anymore. We're now going to only produce Mavic 3 Pro. And then they started producing the Pro version, which it's similar. It has additional camera. It's a bit like has less flight time, but it's about the same drone. However, like you could not anonymize it, and there was no tech how to make it anonymous. So basically, it was flying and transmitting the coordinates of the drone and transmitting the coordinates of the pilot. So it's really hard to use in the field because that's just it's broadcasting all the information. And they stopped producing standard Mavic 3 drones, which basically made it created a gap where you could buy as many Mavic 3 Pros as you wanted, but you could not. It was quite dangerous to use them, so everyone was running after the old models. And because they're not produced, obviously the stocks were running low, and there was a huge deficit. Like it was really big. But now it's not an issue. The Mavic 3 Pros don't transmit the coordinates anymore with the proper hardware updates. And you can buy them pretty much as you want. So the deficit is still there for the thermal vision drones, Mavic 3Ts. They are expensive. They're not really available. So that still persists.
That's unfortunate. How expensive are they? Like, what's the
So,
price
like,
difference?
standard wholesale price for the thermal Mavic drone was around a bit less than $4,000. Now like 3.9, 3.6, depending on how lucky you are and what is your quantity. Now the price is jumping around five to $6,000 per unit.
Yikes.
Yeah,
It's
so
a
it's
big
quite
increase.
substantial.
All right. That's what is that, like a 30% increase? Jeez. And I'll see you on Tuesday for the next stream. Goodbye.